Shrimad's Divine Grace, founder of Iskana Bhai, Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam Ki, their most merciful Lordship, Shri Shriarakunja Bihari Ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladeva, Shri Bhadra Ki, Shri Nataji, Shri Balagopal Ki, Shri Gornitai Ki, Nitai Go Prem. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Naranam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devam Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamati
Tato Jayamati
Nasta Prashu Bhadreshu
Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki.
Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 38. 38. Let me mark this page. Ke Vayam Nama Rupabhyam Kevayam Nama Rupabhyam Yadubi Saha Pandava Yadubi Saha Pandava Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi Rishikanam Aveshitu Rishikanam Aveshitu Kevayam Nama Rupabhyam Yadubi Sahapandava Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi Rishikanam Niveshitu Kevayam Namarupabhyam Yadubi Sahapandava Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi Rishikanam Niveshitu
Kevayam Nama Rupabhyam
Kevayam Namarupabhyam
Yadubihi Sapandava
Yadubi Sahapandava
Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi
Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi
Rishikanam Ivesitu
Rishikanam Niveshitu Kevayam Namarupabhyam Yadubi Sapandava Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi Rishikanam Niveshitu Ke who are Vayam we Namarupabhyam without fame and ability Yadubi with the Yadus Saha along with Pandava and the Pandavas Bhavata your Adarshana absence Yarhi as if Rishikana of the senses Eva like Isitu of the living being Kevayam Namarupabhyam Yarubi Sahapandava Bhavato Darshanam Yarhi Rishikanam Nivesitu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. All our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. So I'm sorry, I've been absent. I was absent yesterday. Who is this speaking? Oh my Lord. Kunti Devi. These are prayers of Queen Kunti. We are reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti. So, as the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. Purport by His Divine Grace by Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Oh, did we repeat the verse? We did not.
Translation.
The translation we didn't, did we? No. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit. Similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and the Yadus, will end at once. Purport. Kunti Devi is quite aware that the existence of the Pandavas is due to Sri Krishna only. The Pandavas are undoubtedly well established in name and fame, and are guided by the great King Yudhisthira, who is morality personified, and the Yadus, undoubtedly great allies. But without the guidance of Lord Krishna, all of them are non-entities. As much as the senses of the body are useless without the guidance of consciousness, no one should be proud of his prestige, power, and fame without being guided by the favor of the Supreme Lord. The living beings are always dependent, and the ultimate dependable object is the Lord Himself. We may therefore invent, by our advancement of material knowledge, all sorts of counteracting material resources. But without being guided by the Lord, all such intentions end in fiasco. However strong and stout the reactionary elements may be. Om Jnanatamandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshusun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Now just look at this prayer of Kunti Devi. As compared to the prayer of modern day people, she's not praying for herself, and she's considering her well-being as well, included within the completeness of the family of the Pandavas and the Yadus. Now, this is not to say, see, as friends, we hear, if I favor one friend over here and I say, well, you're not as important as they are. I have only them to depend on. It's a little bit different situation with Krishna. Her prayers to Krishna is bringing into account the relationship the entirety of the family of the Pandavas have had with Krishna since day one. And then here Yudhisthira being recognized as, by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, as morality incarnate because he is the son of Yamaraj. Which brings us back to the concept of the fact that demigods were bringing children into this planet, onto this planet, by relations with human beings. Now, yesterday when Dave and I were sharing association, I was getting the realization because Srila Prabhupada distinguishes between demigods and demons. There's always 33 million demigods. You say, well, I came to Krishna consciousness, there should be 33 million and one now, right? But in the heavenly planets in the realm, he's talking about the system is set up so that when one person leaves their body, out of that body comes another soul. And that might seem weird to us, but see, even in the way we're dealing now, we have millions of souls as male, and during our life, we produce. But our lives are not considered so significant that if we are gone, we can't be replaced. Demigods are not like that. And that's why in the place of a demigod, when they leave their body, then they're immediately replaced. And I don't know whether they're born fully knowledgeable or what. I don't know if they have the same need of being nurtured by a mother the same way that we do. You see, they can give birth, Manus can give birth to any other form of life. And I don't know that the form of life becomes dependent upon them. Because we're talking about a completely different time in history, under a completely different set of environmental circumstances, and a different set of bodily abilities. We're talking about a Manu. And during the time in which Manus are inhabiting the planet, this process is considered normal. That's just the way it is. So for us now to think that the way we reproduce is the only way there is, and there's more than just one way or another way, there are several ways. So Manus produce from their own bodies, and then their demigods can produce without causing the person they bring life into the world with to be any less of a virgin. They retain their virginity because it is by a different process that life is brought into existence from the demigods. So now, with Krishna consciousness being developed on the planet, we can expect a restoration of things as they were, so that common knowledge can be amongst all peoples what laws exist by God. Now I'm going to read from the Nectar of Devotion, which is talking about features of ecstatic love for Krishna, which we are seeing Queen Kunti exhibit in her prayers, because she has love and she has known love all of her life. Her concern in her prayers is not for herself, but she sees herself as a part of a family, of a dynasty, of a nation, of a culture. So, in this chapter of the Nectar of Devotion, this particular aspect of ecstatic love, or feature of ecstatic love, is called remembrance. This is what we're really having a problem with in the world right now. And people don't relate it whatsoever to what they are filling their minds with every day. They think that everybody is on the same level. And every thought is the same. Think whatever you want. Say whatever you want. Ponder upon whatever you want. Use your mind for whatever ideas, cares to ponder upon. And this is the cause of the problems. And it is in part an extension of the false ego. We always get back to the false ego because it is the cause of all the problems in the world. There are many symptoms of ecstatic love caused by remembering Krishna. For example, one friend of Krishna informed him, quote, "My dear Mukunda, just after observing a bluish cloud in the sky, the lotus-eyed Radharani immediately began to remember you. And simply by observing this cloud, she became lusty for your association." This is an instance of remembering Krishna in ecstatic love because of seeing something resembling him. Krishna's bodily complexion is very similar to the bluish hue of a cloud. So simply by observing a bluish cloud, Shrimati Radharani remembered him. All benedictions under the influence of eternal time. Jai. One devotee said that Jai One devotee said that even when he was not very attentive, he would sometimes, seemingly out of madness, remember the lotus feet of Krishna within his heart. This is an instance of remembrance resulting from constant practice. In other words, devotees who are constantly thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna, even if they are momentarily inattentive, will see the figure of Lord Krishna appearing within their hearts. This morning, I used to take great pleasure in sitting right at the lotus feet of Srinathji. Because, the curtains are closed here in the morning during chanting time. And he's making himself available. So if there's no Matajis around, I would go in there. And this morning, again, it seems like whenever I sit there at Krishna's lotus feet, I just get the feeling I don't need to do anything more than just stare at his lotus feet. It's like coming into God's presence and having the ability to just gain his association. I feel like it's the goal of life been attained, Why do I want to go anywhere else? And it's just such an amazing privilege. With every act, we're being given the privilege of being able to engage in these activities of Krishna consciousness. I tell you, it's hard for me to contain the feelings of appreciation that I'm developing, because I just know where I would be if I wasn't in Krishna consciousness. I'd be way out there somewhere, And then coming to find out they're serving a demigod that they believe to be God. Now, here, what relation Indra is with Yamaraj. Yamaraj, he's controlling the lower planetary systems. Indra is controlling the entirety of the planetary system, specifically the upper planetary system. So we could say that Yamaraj is positioning himself as subservient in position to, it's like the judge who sends the prisoners into the jailhouse. The warden of the jailhouse is not considered the authorized legal authority as the judge is, right? He is the punisher. But in the case of Yamaraj, because Yamaraj is Krishna, an expansion of Krishna himself. So just like I've said many times before, each and every one of the aspects of God's personality have a completeness in them, so as to be realized. They have to be manifest explicitly in one form. So law is what Yamaraj is. Law, he's religion, he's piety. Manifest all in the form of one person, right? And he's the judge and he's the punisher as well. So this form of punishing doesn't appear in the form of Lord Chaitanya, because they both have different purposes. Lord Chaitanya is coming to deliver us from having to visit Yamaraj. As much as we may appreciate the darshan of Krishna in the merciful form he is showing us, I don't think it's in the hearts of most devotees that they want to go to the planet of Yamaraj to visit Yamaraj. But should the time ever come, prayerfully in our hearts would be Krishna's name, and we could recognize who Yamaraj is. See, all these intricate details about the spiritual world and the relationships that are going on with the ruler of the planet, the hellish planets that's giving judgment. See, they're thinking the devil, what they call the devil, the ruler of hell. This is like calling God the demon. When you look at it in reality, if Bhagavatam is true, Krishna is ruling that group of planets that there are, specifically made as the prison house of the universe. To put we are universal dwellers, we are universal travelers. Each time stopping in a place, thinking it to be our eternal home. We're moving along, and this force of the material energy can deliver us into any other universe as well. And we forget. So in the Sanskrit language, we have the term memory, right? But when we have the absence of memory, we add the letter A to the beginning of the word in Sanskrit. Now I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what the word for memory is. In Sanskrit, you know what the word for memory is? Anybody?
Remember is smarana, right, Prabhu?
What is it?
Remembering means smarana.
Smana, asmana, then is forgetfulness. Is that what we were saying?
Vismara.
What is it?
Vismara.
Vismara. Okay. So yeah, so by adding something to the word that describes memory, we suggest the absence of it. Just like there would not be darkness recognized except by the absence of the sun. So there would not be need for punishment with the absence of sin. And that's the difference between a heavenly planet and a hellish planet. And then we have what we have on our planet, the middle planet. The reason for punishment here is what is being named by other human beings as what we call sin. But the word in Sanskrit means missing the mark. And I suspect because sin itself, when it is analyzed fully, every act of it is an act, a simple act against Krishna. And so in effect, we could say, looking at it from the extreme, we're like traitors to God when we sin, when we commit acts against God. It's like being a traitor to God. We don't want to develop unnecessarily feelings of guilt that we're no longer engaged in. But in order to be able to see the inference of people's lives who are living as though there is no such thing as sin, right? Most atheists don't believe there's anything as sin. And now our society is leaning towards 50% secular. Even those that are engaging in religious activities are leaning towards what we call irreligious activities, killing, slaughtering animals, gambling. They have gambling in churches. They have bingo. My grandmother used to love to play bingo. You buy so many cards. The money you pay for the cards goes to a quote-unquote good cause. And then half of that goes into making the pot that you can win from. So you buy $10 worth of cards and maybe walk out with $5 worth of gifts or $100 worth of gifts. Yes.
So I have heard of religions that here in Detroit that have ATMs in their lobby.
ATM?
Yes, an ATM in their lobby.
Okay, now you're
So
talking
that
about
you
where they
can-
can get money out.
Yes, to donate.
Yeah, we have connection to ATM, and I don't think we have that service yet.
No,
And
you can donate.
donate, but you can't
cash
take
out
out.
here.
Right.
Yeah, and then give your cash,
Only input, output.
See, you get into Shrimadbhagavatam, and you see the things that are created. The other day I was talking about reading books. Do you know what I mean by lodestone? Lodestone in a mine. If you're mining gold, lodestone is like right at the center where it got started. We've got where this stuff is being made, right, produced. And so it is the richest source of the gold.
Pure.
So now when you find that mother lode, they call it, the mother lode, you're not going to go downstream trying to sift it out of the little tiny dust particles. You're going to be sifting out the great big chunks of gold that are there in the mother lode. So similarly, this Shrimadbhagavatam is the mother lode of spiritual realization, and the gold that can be found in it, every single paragraph, every practically word. By the way, the Sanskrit language is set up even gives realizations about principles of the Supreme Person. So its absorption brings us to a state of realization of our relationship with Krishna. And that's what this whole book is about. Relationship, the nectar of devotion. Bhakti, devotion. Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of the relationship of Krishna. That's what we can look at it as. Because these relationships we're having with one another, if they're spiritually based, they're giving us a taste for what Krishna, association with Krishna is like. So we saw Srimati Radharani. As soon as she saw the sky, you go outside without looking at the sky, without seeing the sky, and immediately it reminded her of Krishna. Calm his body. So, similarly, these things that seem to us in our life to be extremely obvious, if we have the eye to see with, we can see Krishna in all of it. And that's the experience moment by moment that is being fully experienced by those in the Vaikuntha realm, which we are experiencing in a limited way through our senses and through our ability to perceive by gradual progress day after day. But as our consciousness is purified, it becomes, well, I tell you this morning, I was getting a love for just being able to chant and have beads and see Krishna, and be there right at Krishna's lotus feet. What more could I want, And then it brings such an experience of happiness and satisfaction that, so many people are missing out on. At this very moment right now, well, if we just look at it on this planet, there are thousands of people suffering. But what to speak, if we look at it universally, then how many unlimited universes there are, how many unlimited numbers of souls are in a state of suffering, extreme suffering right now. And someone on the point of death, leaving their bodies at this very moment, more than one. We're very fortunate to be in full knowledge of the fact that we want to go see God after this life. We want to put into effect all the instructions He's given us to be able to do that. And he's giving us unction from within to be able to empower us, to give us the ability we're longing for. So that those practices in Krishna consciousness, which now may seem somewhat difficult to us, they will become not only the easiest, but the most cherished and the most loving experience of exchange. I never thought I could be feeling such satisfaction from anything, but see, in this world, Tulsi Maharani, she's not an ordinary person. She is herself Vishnu Tattva. She's an expansion of Krishna's own love. And we have, when we are chanting, association with her through the touching of her body, that these beads are. Huh? Yeah. You don't get that in any other philosophy. Who's offering this kind of way of thinking about the dead piece of wood lying out in the woods somewhere, you know, what value it has? But this inner knowledge that God is giving us to understand why it's confidential, how confidential it is to Him, for Him, Krishna, to call it confidential. If God's calling it confidential, how dear is it to Him? And then to reveal it to us means that He's calling us close enough friends to be able to give us what He considers to be secret knowledge. All these words that have just little hints here and there, because we use them in everyday conversation, we don't take the full meaning of what they are when they're being spoken of by Krishna. But everything spoken of by Krishna has very deep meanings. Now, when we take the fullness of it, boy, our life will be full. Just like Christ said, I come that your life, that you may know life more fully, that you may have life to its fullest extent. But what is that life except the relationship with God? Now, person they're calling Christ, if the person he's saying is the controller of heaven is his father, that's Indra. So they're not getting connected to God through Christ, who's calling himself the only mediator. As time progresses, I'm building more and more question and wonder about what position he does have in devotees' lives. Devotees don't think like that, actually, or give people an ultimatum to believe in them or else die and go to hell.
Yeah.
That is really a serious statement being made.
Which is why...
Which gives people reason to believe that he is God. And he has convinced so many people to believe that, which I also did at one time. But he's the son of Indra. Now, Krishna does from time to time put himself in the position of the son, but then you gotta take the position of anyone. So he could be, we treat him like a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada, our guru, has said he's pure devotee.
That Christ is pure devotee?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we follow him for that purpose. We still call it the year 2025 like everybody else.
Because that's right.
But the change may come. People may begin to recognize who God really is. And then that position of empire, if he's in position to be the next emperor of the world, which it looks like he is in even the familial line. See, scriptures are putting emphasis on this familial line as well. All the scriptures do that because it accredits them with being directly connected. There would be no other reason to give value to the lineage except for the fact that it connects them to God, right? And so this is what we have a difference between birth in the world and rebirth by the spiritual master. I think we're putting too much emphasis on birth in the world. When we honor the spiritual master's Vyasa Puja, there's a Vyasa Puja of Veda Vyasa. When a self-realized person takes birth into this world, it's a different state of consciousness than when a fallen soul takes birth in this world and then eventually becomes a master. There's a difference. So with Krishna, see, it looks as though this person they call Jesus Christ, he was born with the memory of his previous life. Right? In referring to there being many houses in my father's dwell in my father's kingdom. It's making him out to be a king as well. There are many mansions, he says. Yeah. Or dwelling places, which I came to learn that term would mean dwelling places. See, the way we look at the need for certain things according to the environmental circumstances, right? So if the environment is providing all the time a favorable and a set of circumstances as inside your house, you wouldn't need to be inside of your house. And this is how sages lived in times past. They didn't all live in houses. They lived in caves, they lived outdoors, in the woods, in the forests. When they went out to meditate and like that, they were out in the wild. When we leave our bodies, it is said that the body is leaving through openings. It has to have an opening to leave from. So if the openings in the body are required for the soul to get out of the body, what about the walls of the building we're in? What about the ceiling? Then how do we say these places are haunted by living entities? Except by the souls not having a place to go. They don't even know they're dead. They wander around experiencing the same cravings that they had when they were in their body. They become ghosts, and without a body to satisfy those cravings. So that is a place of suffering also. These ghosts can be put in these places of cravings for millennium until they come in contact with a realized soul. But the fact that they don't know they're dead, so even if they were told in their life about what to do, without remembrance, without memory of these things, or even having given it significance in their minds. So people treat religion as no more than a joke or an inferior gathering of people, humans that need each other's. See, then that consciousness will automatically put them in the next life into a particular environment with other souls that share that same perspective. You know, when you go to school, the teacher separates friends because then they talk with each other, right? So when they see the kids are talking to each other, well, they got to put one kid over here and another over here. Krishna's not like that. We develop friendships with each other and then purposely by those friendships being developed to develop further them. When we meet for the first time, we don't have much going on. And so we don't have feelings for each other. So we can't really say there's love there to the extent we know love to be, right? Although we say we love everyone. We have that idea that we love everyone, right? chances are if we met everyone, we would have a different idea. But this concept of love, everybody holds in their mind, it would seem, somewhat of a little bit different experience that they've had in their life that has led them to believe that they've experienced love, kindness, gentleness, and normally from parents, right? You learn first love from parents. But with Krishna, he's been with us since time immemorial. He knows what we like, he knows what we hate, he knows what we want, and he knows what it will take to get us back to Godhead. Wow. It almost seems like the only thing holding that up is the reproductive process. Now it looks like Manu's, a woman has to carry a child for 9 months and then only produces one. With the fact that Manus were brought into existence for the sake of populating the universe, not one planet, the universe, gives me reason to believe that that birthing process, they could be birthing 10 elephants in one day. I don't know. Kind of look that up. That would be interesting to find out. Because I don't know they're limited the same way. See, we limit in our minds by what experiences we've already had. And this is a real hindrance to developing God consciousness. Because he's not limited by any of that. And then what happens, we fall into the problem of running into what people consider to be imagination. So Prabhupada says there's no such thing. We can't create things with our minds that don't exist. So that's something. What does that tell us? In and of itself, tells us the mind is not as able as we give it credit to. You know, when we see a child create a picture of something that we've never had experience of in our lives, but the child is simply recreating what it's already had experience of. And then we do that with dreams as well. We see in dreams things we think have no application in reality. But it's like my dream on a flying bicycle. Prabhu, why I asked you this morning about electronics, I have a design for a bicycle. The faster you go, the faster you can go. It runs on a battery with 1,000 little one volt generators being blown by the wind.
Okay.
Doesn't that make sense? But the reason they're having problems now with generators is because they have it set up for a 12-volt system. Means the wind has to blow at a high velocity to reach the stage where this thing even kicks in to produce the kind of output required. But if you reduce that threshold to 1 volt rather, as soon as you start blowing, as soon as you start going, the thing's producing. And then you just put 1,000. They only need to be that big.
Yeah.
You can fit 1,000 of them on a little bicycle like that. And then you put them in a tube. And in the front of the tube, you have a big funnel that gathers all the wind coming into that thing times 10. So I think it could easily be done. And most of these electric bicycles running around, they're on 400. They're on how many watts? They're just like 200 volts. And I think they're only 400 watts. Which means only 2 amps. That's nothing. See? You could start the thing, pedal it, just as you start pedaling it 10 times, and then once you get it going that fast, it just automatically increases. Then you need a brake, they just brake. I really believe. See, a lot of these things are available, but because restricted and limited minds depending solely upon their personal experience with what they have access to, cut themselves short of the possibilities available through Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna opens up the mind to the way to be able to see things functioning properly. It is God Himself who has set all these principles in the universe. And He can give us far superior knowledge of how to manipulate and use these things of the material energy, if we can use them in Krishna's service. But analyze with a spiritual mind, there's no need. Everything we need to get back to God in, we can do without any of the mechanics we have. All the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smara, all of that, 9 prasad, not one of them requires a machine. Isn't that amazing? Now, any of this stuff we're producing as a society to call ourselves the most advanced society ever in all of existence. That's what we're saying. That's what the American leaders of American so-called scientific advanced society are saying about itself. So it seems like the more representative people are of any particular group of people, the more full of the false ego they are. If you're going to represent yourself, you're representing one false ego. If you're going to represent 1,000,000 false egos, how much more false ego is there in that? So this is why, see, leaders have to be broken of the false ego, otherwise there is no representation of God. It is said that Krishna doesn't speak to us through our false egos. You have to wait, and that's so many times why He speaks to us in our sleep. Because in our sleep, the false ego is gone. We don't have the mentality, oh, I'm going to do this, no, you just sit back and let it happen, right? And in effect, Krishna is suggesting to a great extent in the Bhagavad Gita that mentality in life as well incorporates faith. When we get the idea that we can do it all on ourselves, and we want to do it all on ourselves, and we got to do it all on ourselves to prove something for everybody else, then we are stuck with our own abilities. But if we want to trust Krishna and put our will into His hands and give up to His will, then He can enable us, which what He says, I am the ability in man. To what? To commit sinful activities? No. But now that you've turned your life over to Krishna, He wants to enable us beyond what our own abilities would have enabled us to do. And not in our own material calculations. Fame is not required. A name is not required. Wealth is not required. Education, even of the material academic sense, is not required. Krishna is pointing out the love in the heart of one who couldn't even read. The former Lord Chaitanya, he was looking at a picture about Krishna crying. And because of that mentality, Krishna, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, points this out, that even though he couldn't read the book, he got the message of what the book was talking about. So these kinds of, activities in human beings, we also have to learn to appreciate. If we go through life judging, oh, you can't read, you're illiterate, you're a nonsense. No, we can't think like that. Love is universal. Truth is universal. You don't have to know how to read to know right from wrong. The soul has built within it Krishna's laws, but it is by our long pursuit of going against those laws to try and find pleasure that we are believing now that there's some other way besides to find the full satisfaction that we're looking for. we gotta turn our hearts towards Krishna 100% to experience 100% what we're longing for. And when we do that, then won't be able to contain it. That's what Krishna reveals. If he can't contain it, Lord Chaitanya can't contain it. Woo! I know I can't contain it. Yeah, so we have a lot to look forward to. Being fulfilled in love of God. Being able to experience everywhere we look. Everything we look at, we're reminded of Krishna because it all came from him. And it all reveals aspects of him. You just have to keep reminding ourselves about that through the day. And that's what chanting will help us to do. When we find ourselves in that thought of I, me, and mine, all we have to do is remember, I can chant now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna has all power. So my mind and its contrived ideas about what is good for me and what I want can be brought under the control of the soul to be able to be used by the Supreme for the purpose of the Supreme's eternal will to be established, not as it is in heaven, as it is in Vaikuntha. I don't know whether we'll get Krishna Loka here completely, but we could at least get Vaikuntha, which is meaning without anxiety. But you know what that means? Without anxiety. What is anxiety? Every disturbance there is going on in the world, sickness, ill health, wars, misconceptions about life, unknowing, uncertainty about the future. All these things are disturbances in the mind, which, when God's will is perfected in human beings on this planet, then we will have experiences of love for God that will be complete. As long as there's some on the planet that are causing disturbance, because if we're suffering disturbances, it's because we've caused disturbance. So then our peace will not be complete either. So to get to that point, then we got to first get to 10%. And I don't know, I think 10% might be quite some distance in the future. The more we preach, the closer that 10% will become. And the more we chant, because the chanting has more effect than anything. With Krishna putting all of his spiritual energies in this chanting, it's the most effective thing we can use the bodies for. You know? But the study of the scriptures gives us the impetus to do that also. Are there any comments, any questions, any realizations? Maybe someone like to share. Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for having